So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So someone should remind us where we stopped yesterday in our day three. What did we do last?
We stopped at external CSS.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's continue from there. So we are going to look more into CSS. All right. And we are going to look at how we can use the CSS properties more and also the CSS selectors. So I think in our last class we did how we can use the class selector by giving your HTML element a class. So diving into today's, and yeah, based on the exercise I was given, I think some people have done it and they've also tagged me. So great job to those who did the tags and posted on their social media handles. So let's dive into today's section. So first thing I'm going to do, I want to create a new folder called day 4. Alright. Then inside that folder I want to create a new file called index.html. So I would also so I'm going to put my exclamation mark and click enter. Change the title of this document to day 4. Then I want
So
to
sorry, I can't see your screen from my end. I don't know.
okay, can others see my screen?
Your screen is not showing.
It's not showing.
The screen is static.
Your screen is not showing.
Oh, okay. Please hold on. Okay. How about now? Is my screen still is it visible now? Is my screen still visible and can you hear me also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the screen is visible now.
Yes. Yes.
Alright, so today we are going to look at CSS selectors. Let me open this with a live server. So we're going to dive more into CSS selectors. Let me see if we can write some code. So let me pick from the one we use in day 3. So we used, let's see something else. Okay, let me just copy this code, still this same birthday code, and paste in our index.html. Let me take out this h1. So in our last session I mentioned how we can link our CSS externally. So can someone please remind me of the code to do that? Anyone, you can unmute your mic. Can anyone hear me? Network. Your this thing dey on. Alright, please can everyone hear me now? Can anyone hear me? If you can hear me,
Yes, sir.
let me know. Okay. Can you also see my screen? Can you also see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Alright, so let's proceed. So we want I was asking in our last session we talked about how you can add CSS externally. So I want someone to walk us through the steps. How can we add CSS to our HTML file? Anyone? Anyone can go ahead and omit use our mic. How can we add CSS to our index.html file? Okay, I guess maybe nobody remembers. Please, someone's mic is on. Please help us mute your mic. Thanks. Okay, let's get back to our course. So to create, uh, to link a style into our index.html file, we're going to create a new file called styles.css. Right, styles.css. Then I want to go in and put in an exclamation. Oh, this is not HTML. So I want to go to my index.html file. Then I want to link it. Alright. So the tag for linking our styles.css to our HTML file is you use the link, then to bring out this code. Then we want to link our file using /style, or we just say styles.css. Then we'll save that. So we've successfully linked our style.css file to our index.html file. So yesterday we looked at CSS selectors. Right, so the first thing we looked at is how we can use the elements, alright, and select the elements to style them. So we'll go through that once again before we dive into other CSS selectors. So let's look at using the element selector. So I'll go to my style.css. So let's say I want to change the color of our H1. I want to change it from color black to blue. I'll simply say H1, then I'll put our curly bracelets, press enter to separate them. So I'll create a space to write in my code. So I'll say a color, and I want to type in blue as the color. So I'll save that. Then as you can see, the color has changed. Right, that's how we can use the element selector. So the same thing for our, if you go back to our index.html code, the same thing if I want to style the h2, or I want to style our list, or I want to style the h3, I can just simply select the tag, right, and style it. Another CSS selector we looked at was class selector. So let me give our h2 a class. So to put a class, you put it in between the h2 and the greater than sign. So you give a space, then type in class. Then the class that you created, you want to give your class a name, and that name will come in between the quotes. So let's say I want to give our h2 here a class name of birthday date. And please, if you are writing class and you have two words, to separate them you don't use space, right? You use a dash in between. If you should put it like this, it means you have two classes, all right, two separate classes. But to make sure that they are one, you have to use your dash to join the two words together, right? So if I go to my style.css and I want to change the color of this h2, let's say I want to change it to a color like brown, I will go in there. Then I want to call the class, I want to select that class. So to select a class, you have to use dot, all right, you have to use dot, then the name of the class, which is birthday date, then I want to give it a color. Let's, I want to give it a color of green. There's a mistake there. To give it a color of green. If I save this now and I view it, we should see a different color for our h2. Okay, it's not reflecting. Let me save this. Let me see if I'm using the correct birthday. Okay, the spelling was wrong, so there's no R here. So let me add the R, then save it. So one thing about coding is once a particular text is missing out, your code might not run. So as you can see, the color of our h2 has changed from black to green. We can do some other example using class. Let's say I want to give our class now and our h3 another class. Let's say I want to give it a class name of should I say souvenirs, or let me say presents. That's presents to bring to the event. So from what I said, someone should tell me how can we target this present in our styles.css file. What am I going to type in our styles.css file? Anyone can unmute your mic.
You write dot present.
Okay, so I'll say dot present. Then I want to let me use something else. I've been using color. Let's say font size, and I want to change the font size to like 50 pixels. So I'll save that.
Zero is in
So it's not reflecting. Let
It's
me
funny.
present font size 50 pixels. Okay, let's use another property. Let's say font family. Let me change the font of our H3. So let's give it a font family of, let's say, Montserrat. Let me see if we have Montserrat fonts here. Okay, we don't have. Let's just use from the list that we have here. So I'll say font family. Then I want to use, let's use this one, Arial Helvetica sans serif. So I'll save it, and if you view it, it's still not reflecting. I wonder why.
Oh my God, Jesus.
Let's save that
My
again.
videos.
Let's also save the HTML file. Okay, as you can see, the font has changed. Right. So that is how you can use the class selector to style a particular element in your HTML. So another selector we can have is the ID selector. Right. The ID selector is,
Bubble it. Bubble
please, your mic is on. Okay, I think he has turned off his mic. Okay, so to use the ID selector, we will say, ID, alright, click enter, then in between the quotes, let's say we want to give it an ID of location. Alright, want to give it an ID of location. So let's say I want to now style this H3 now. To target your ID, you use the pound sign, that is like hashtag. Alright, hashtag, then location, hashtag location. Then I'll open my brackets. Then let's say I want to change the font family also. Let's change the font family to any font here. Let's say Franklin Gothic. Then I'll save that and also view it. Let's view it in our browser. Still doesn't change. Let's see what's wrong. Location. Let me see if we got our spelling correctly. So let me save it again and come back here and also save this. So let's view. Okay, the font has changed. I don't know if you notice it, but it's not like the regular font. The original font was this one for this H1, which is the Times New Roman. But as we change the font for the H3, that is the location for the event, you see that it has also changed. So that is how we can use the ID selectors. So you might want to ask, why is it that we are having different selectors? Alright. The reason why we are having different selectors is all of them have a role to play. For example, now, if I was building my website and I have like multiple H2s or I have multiple paragraphs, if I want to use the element selector and I just want to select P, all the paragraphs, once I just style it and change the color to like blue, alright, all the paragraphs in my website will have color blue, and I might not want that in most cases. So to be more specific, alright, you can now use the class selector, where you will now say, okay, this particular P should have a class of its own. It should be separate. Then I'll now give it a separate class, so that if I want to style that one particular paragraph, I can just use the selector and style only that paragraph. Alright, that is why we use class in most instances. because when you are using the element selector, you are selecting all the elements in your HTML document. But if you are using class and you attach it to one particular element, all right, maybe if you're having like 10 p tags in your website, in your website, and out of the 10, I say the third paragraph should have a class of um, paragraph 3, and I style it, it will have a different property styling compared to the other paragraphs. That's why we usually use the class selectors. And so what is the role of the ID selector now? So the ID selector is used when you want to be when you want to use it, um, is used mainly once in your HTML documents. So like unlike class now, I can repeat class in different places. Alright, I can repeat class in different places. But if I'm using an ID, I can't use an ID of location multiple times. It won't be proper. But if I want to use class, I can create another h2 and give it the same class. But an ID name is only used once. Right? So I cannot use an ID of location multiple times in my document, but I can use a class selector multiple times. So let's say this class of birthday cake, I can use it multiple times in my HTML document. Alright. Then another thing we want to look at is group selector. Group selector. So let's say I want to select a group of elements and style them together. Alright. So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to style the h1, h2, and h3. I want to style all of them together for them to have the same property. Let me go to my style.css. Let's go to the style.css. So let's remove the previous code we have. So we are starting on a clean slate. If I go back now, you see that all my styling is gone. So let's say I want to target the h1, h2, and h3, and I want to give them the same kind of styling. So to do that, I will say h1, alright. Then I want to use comma, h1 comma, then h2, then h3. Then I want to use my curly bracelet. Then I want to give it its properties. So let's say I want to give it a color of blue, and I want to give it a font family of Arial.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
So if I save it and I view it now on my browser, you can see that all the elements I selected have been styled automatically. So that's what we call group selection when we want to style elements in CSS. Right. So I want to, before I proceed, let me not take you guys so far. Maybe you guys might not understand. Let me know if you have any questions so far before I proceed into another thing. So far, let me know if you need any clarification. Let me know if you really understand these CSS selectors. So if you have any question, just unmute your mic and I will answer. Does anyone have a question? Or if you don't have a question, just say no also. Let me know that you can hear me. You can unmute your mic and respond.
No.
Okay, alright. So it means it's fully understand. It's fully understood. Let me know. Let me know if I have to recap. Because sometimes some people might not understand some stuff and they'll just leave it that. Later I'll just check it. Okay, so let me assume that we all understand. So let's proceed.
I'm on the table. I'm on the table.
Okay.
Can you please recap?
Ah, from here, please.
The last one,
Which
when
one?
you were talking about the ID location cannot be used multiple times. The class selector can be used multiple times also.
Okay, I think you got that part. Okay, let me just continue from the part that you didn't hear, because from what you said, you already got that part. So I think the part you might not have gotten. Did you get the group selectors part? Seun, did you get the group selectors part? Hello, Seun, the person that just asked the question.
I can't hear you guys.
Okay, can anybody hear me? Let's proceed.
I said no. No. The group selector, I didn't get that part. The last part was that ID location cannot be used multiple times, and the class selector can be used multiple times.
Okay, okay, so let me explain the group selectors again. So for the group selector, and see, from what you said, I'm not saying the ID cannot be used multiple times. In a document, you can have ID repeating, but the name of the ID, all right, shouldn't be repeated multiple times. Like if I carry this H2 now and I duplicate it, I can still use it again, but it won't be proper if I come to H3, I copy it, then I duplicate it. It won't be right. I just have
We
to
can't hear you guys, so
I
you
have
give a
to
cracking.
give it another location, my ID name, like location 2. Please, can other people hear me? Can other people hear me? Please, can other people hear me? Let me share my screen. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so let me repeat the group selectors again. How you can select group of elements. Right, so to select the group of elements, let me take out this code and let's view our web again. So as you can see, our index.html, our elements are in their default state, which is their colors, which is the normal black color. So what we want to do now is we want to select the h1, h2 and h3 elements in our index.html file, and we want to style them together, and that's why we are calling it group selectors. So what we can do now is we'll go to our styles.css file, then we want to select those elements, which is h1, h2 and h3. Then I want to put my curly bracelets and I will give it a color of blue. Then I also want to give them a font family of Arial. So I'll save that. So if I save that and view, you see that we have a different styling for our group of elements. So do you understand that now?
Yes.
All right, okay. So there was something I wanted to show us though in our HTML class, but I think I forgot how you can manipulate codes on a live website using HTML, right, and even CSS. So let me go back to our code. Let me take this all out and I'll save that and come back here. Let me use something. Okay, let me just use what we have here. So if I right click, all right, if I right click on our web page like a normal right click, then I scroll down and click on inspect. All right, I click on inspect. You see all our code that is written, every single line of code that we've written here. So I can come here and I can also manipulate codes from this place. So instead of saying it's my birthday, I can say it's my wedding anniversary. All right, then if I click enter, you see that it will change the code here. All right, you can change the code here. That's how you can manipulate code using your using the inspect section in your website. Then if you also look here at this your right hand side, you'll see this area here, all right, where we have some styling. All right, it's showing us the styling that are done by default for us. So sometimes even when you write your code and you don't make any styling, by default there are some styling attached to it. So as you can see, H1 here is styled and it has a display of block. Right? It has a font weight of bold. What does display of block mean? Display block means it is taking an entire line. Remember when we were doing links, if you create two links, like when we created the about page and the contact page, those two links were in the same line. Alright, so they were in line. Alright, then but if an element is in a block format, that means it's taking an entire line to itself, it's not sharing it with another element. So let's say I want to come in here now and I want to make some adjustments to this code. I can simply say okay, so we've looked at how you can make changes on a live website using the inspection tool. So what I want us to work on now is we should create a project using CSS. Then in the process, I'm going to also introduce some styling properties which I didn't make mention of. Right, so as I'm using them, I'll also explain to you how those properties work, so we can conclude for today because the network is actually really affecting. So the project we want to work on now, if you check on the WhatsApp group, I dropped the picture there for the project, but let me also open it on my system. Let me know if you can also see my screen, please.
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So I want to get the goal image, what we want to recreate. So we want to create a motivational poster website. Alright, so we'll have an image of something or anybody, then we'll give it a heading. Alright, then we'll also give it a paragraph. So it's a motivational quote, and you can attach any quote to it. Right, so in this particular project we'll be looking at the CSS properties for positioning and also for alignment. Right, so let's get started, and as I'm doing it, I'll show you what each of those properties stand for. So let's go back to our code, and so in our day 4, I'm going to create a new folder called motivational websites or motivational quotes. Alright, then in our motivational quotes folder, I want to create a new file called index.html. Then I want to import our HTML template here, and I'll name it motivational quotes. So I'm going to also create another file for my styles.css. I'm going to go into my index.html, and I'm going to link it. I'm going to link the style.css file. Style.css. So this is what we want to recreate. Right. So what are we going to do first? Please give me a minute, let me bring up something. So what we are going to do, we are going to introduce an element called div. Alright, an element called div. So we didn't talk about this HTML element in our day 1 and day 2 because it really at that moment did not have like a use at that moment. But what does this div element do? Right, it helps us to create a box or a container where we can put our other elements. So what I'll do is, in between the opening and the closing tag, I want to click enter, and I'm going to say image, because we want to add an image. Right? I'm going to say image, then I want to add our image now. So let me create another folder for images. I'll create a folder for images. Then I will add the image for our project, this particular image here. I'm going to move it into our folder. So let me get it. This should be it. Then I'll move it to our projects folder. Looking for day 4. Okay, so looking for day 4, then in the images file folder, I want to paste the image there. Then I'll come in here and add that image. So I just say dot slash the images folder. So I want to say slash images. Okay, it's not really bringing me what I want. Dot slash okay. So what I did here is, initially or previously I used to use one dot and forward slash. So why did I use two dots here? Now, in cases where the particular image you want to add is outside your folder, because if you look at it now, our motivational quote now is in its own separate, our index.html file is in its own folder, which is motivational quotes, but the image you want to add now is in a particular folder outside. So what we want to do now is to move into that folder, we have to use a two double dots. That means we are going backward, right, to another folder entirely. So when we go into that particular folder, then we want to select images, then we want to select the particular image that is inside that images folder. Then if I save this and I view it on our browser, okay, this is not what we should be viewing. Let me open this with live server. So this is what we have. Alright, so we've gotten our image. The next thing we want to do is we want to add our heading, alright, that which is that special moment. So what I want to do is I want to add an H1, and I'll say that special moment. Then the next thing in our goal is we want to add a paragraph. So add a paragraph, and the paragraph should say, when you find the perfect avocado at the supermarket. When you find guys, you will have to pardon me. I think I made a mistake with what the project name should be. It shouldn't be motivational quotes. It should be a meme poster. So I'll just have to rename this and title it meme, because that doesn't, the paragraph we had there doesn't even sound like a motivational quote. It sounds like more of a meme. So I'm going to change that to meme poster. Right, like we are creating memes. So I'll change it also to memes. Alright, so I'll save that. Then let's see if we have, okay, showing an error, cannot get the form motivational quote index.html. Okay, so there's an error somewhere. Okay, let me open with live server again. So yeah, so here it is. Alright, so next thing we want to do is we want to change the background of our body to black. So we did it in our last I think in day 3 or day 2. We changed the background color of our website to black. So someone can remind us how we did that again. How did we change the background color of the body of our website to black? Anyone? Does anyone know? Okay, maybe no one remembers. But let me know if everyone can still hear me, because as I'm not getting any response. Let me know if you are still following. Can you still hear me clearly? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Alright. So to change the body of our website to have a background of color of black, what we'll do is we'll go to our style.css. Then we want to target our body. That is the body tag. And we want to put our curly bracelets. Then we want to give it a background color of black. So we'll save that and let's view. Okay, it's not reflecting. Let's save that again. Then let's go to our index.html. Okay, it has been linked. Let's see again what we have. Still the same thing. Okay. Let's see if I open it in a with live server again. Let's see if it's going to reflect the new change. Still have the same thing. Okay. Let me see where the error is coming from. Okay. Oh, it seems I put the styling in the wrong.
You have to style.
Yeah.
Yes,
I just
yes.
noticed. Yeah, I put it in the wrong. This thing. Thanks. So yeah, our background is now black, but we have an issue. Our text is now hidden. So how can we do that? We have to change the color of our paragraph and heading to become white. So we'll go back to our styling and let's target the H1. Then we want to give it a color of white. Then we want to also target our P tag. We want to also give it a color of white also. So I'll save that and let's see if it reflects. So yeah, that has been changed. So the next thing we want to look at is this border around this. But first of all, before we add the border, let's see how we can center this to be in the center of our website. Right, so if we look at our website, the elements are left aligned. So we want to make it appear at the center of our website. So what we can do now is we are going to style that div that we created. Remember the div we created earlier? This particular div that contains our project codes. So like we said before, a div is a container and we can style it separately also. Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the thing is, no matter how it goes, alright, we'll finish this stuff this night. I know network is bad, but I won't stop to finish it. We have to just finish it. Alright, so let's proceed. So please let me know if you can see my screen. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let's proceed. So we are looking at how we can style our div. Alright. So what we can do is we want to give it a background color. Background color of black. So this black might not necessarily show, but it's actually there. Then we want to give it a width of 50%. A width of 50%. Then, so what does this width of 50% mean? Right? It means that the width of our div, like the container, should take 50% of the entire screen. Right? Then we want to give it a text alignment of center. Text alignment of center means that our text here should be at the center. As you can see, it has moved to the center of our div. Let me also do an inspection so you can see how that div actually works, so it doesn't look so confusing. So if I click on this arrow here and I highlight our code, or I just come here, if you look at the code here, you can see a div here. Alright, so this is the div. This is the div here. Then if I open it, you see our code inside here. So all of our code here, like the images, the text and everything, is inside this particular div. Alright, so if I should say the text should be center aligned, it will be center aligned around this the div that covers this image and the text. So let's add other properties. So let's say a margin left, margin left of 25%. Then I'll come back to those so I can explain them. Then we want to add a margin top of 50 pixels. 50 pixels. So what does your margin top mean? So margin top refers to the space above your div element. So if you notice, initially we didn't have this margin at the top. Let me comment out the code so that you can see what's really happened. If I comment out this code and I save it and I go back to our code, you see that there's the space there is very minute, right? But if I now come back here and make the code to be active again, then we are going to have some spacing at the top, which is 50 pixels. So margin tops means give some spacing at the top of our div. All right. Then we want to also, so our this thing is already looking like what we want. It's already looking like what we want. But what is missing? Let someone tell us. There's something missing in this whole design compared to our goal image. Look at our goal image here. Look at our goal image. There's something missing. So I want someone to help us point it out. Anyone? Let me open it again. Wish I could open them side to side. Okay. I'll move this by the side. Then I'll bring this. So look at these two. Something is missing.
Oh, it's the outline, like that white thing on the Calise picture itself.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. So we call it border. All right. So the image is missing a border that has a color of white. So we are going to look at how we can add border using CSS. So let's go back to our code. Let me open this and go back to our VS Code. So the border now, we want to add it to our image. Alright. So we are going to style our image, the image element. So what we want to do is we want to give it a width of 100%. 100% is different from 100 pixels, right? When you say something should take 100% width, it's saying, we are saying you should take the 100% space in that container, right? That's what it means. Then we also want to add a border. All right, we want to add a border. We're using the border property, and we want to give it a border of 5 pixels. That is the thickness of that outline you saw there. A border of 5 pixels. Right, that's the thickness of the border. Then we want to give it a border type of solid. That is, the line should be solid. Then we want to give it a color of white. Alright, so if I save this and we view it, this is the goal image. If we view it now, you see that we have the outline on it. We have this border. Let's play around with the border. Let me also so you can see how it works. So if I say let's say I say 20 pixels instead of 5. Let's say I say 20 pixels. You will see how thicker it will become. You see it's thicker compared to when it was 5 pixels. Then if I move it back to 5 pixels, you see that the thickness of the border it has now reduced, right? If I now come back here, what does this solid mean? The solid means the texture of the border. If I change this solid now and I say something like dotted, right, you see how it would look. You see now the border is a dotted border. Alright, so we are going to take it back to our solid state. So let's say I want to change the color. I think by default everyone should know this. Once I change the color to any color, to change from either white or blue or any color I assign to it. Alright, so let's see if we have what is in our goal image. This is the goal, and this is what we have. So I think so far we've done the necessary things, and so we have recreated the same thing in our goal image. So this will also be the exercise for today. Alright. So what I want you to do is I want to also create a meme, right? Or meme. Some people call it meme, some people call it meme. So it could be something funny. So the first image here should be describing the meme. You could put someone funny. You could put a comedian or anybody, or you could put Kabi Lame. Then um, you give it a heading and also type your funny funny text describing the meme. Alright. So I don't know if you understand that. I don't know if you understand the description of the exercise. So create a meme website, right? Give it an image and also give it a heading and also a paragraph describing the meme. So does anyone understand that? Let me know if you are still following. You can unmute your mic. So can anyone still hear me? Okay. Omitade, I think you were trying to say something, but I couldn't hear you. Emmanuel. Okay. So I'll drop the exercise on the group. Already, I've already dropped the image on the group also. So today's session will also be uploaded on the YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it later on.
But I'm not seeing your screen, sir.
Okay, you can't see my screen. Can others see my screen? Sheun, Mercy, Kehinde, Chidex.
I said I can hear you clear and loud, sir, but I'm not seeing your screen, sir.
Okay, it could be network from your end also, because others said they can see my screen. Alright. So that's it for today. And so we've been able to conclude on HTML and CSS. By tomorrow, we are going to be looking at Bootstrap. Alright. So after this project, you can just post it on your social media handles and also tag me also using the relevant hashtags. Alright. So let me know if anyone has any question before we call it a day for today.
Yeah, I have questions, sir.
Okay, Emmanuel.
Sir, under the XMS, can you show me the page again, sir? I'm not seeing the last sentence. Not CSS, that XMS, sir.
Okay. I'm in the HTML page now.
Okay, sir.
Can you see it?
I want to. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I can see. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you just wanted to see it. I thought you wanted to ask a question.
No, I'm not asking the question. I'm just trying to check that paragraph and that
Okay, okay,
H1.
okay, alright.
I could not.
Does any other person have a question?
Thank you.
Alright, thank you all for being part of today's session. Today's session will also be uploaded on YouTube and the link will be dropped on the group. So we're going to see tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Thank you all and good night.